The coffee in my hand had gone cold, a forgotten casualty of the war being waged by the butterflies in my stomach. For 10 years, I'd called this glass and steel tower my second home. 10 years of missed anniversaries, late-night dinners eaten at my desk, and weekends sacrificed at the altar of ambition. I wasn't just an employee at Sterling Corp. I was one of its architects, a foundation stone. Today was supposed to be the payoff. The senior vice president role wasn't just a promotion, it was my coronation. My boss, Mr. Davison, had all but promised it to me. Alex, he'd said a month ago, his hand clapping my shoulder with avuncular confidence. The Odyssey project was your baby. You saw it through the storm. The board sees that. I see that. Get ready for the corner office. The Odyssey project had been a 2-year marathon, a logistical nightmare that nearly bankrupted the company. I was the one who pulled it back from the brink, working 80-hour weeks, my mind a constant whirlwind of spreadsheets and crisis management. My wife, Sarah, had been patient, or so I thought. "Just a little longer, honey," I'd tell her over the phone, the office lights reflecting in the dark window behind me. "Once this is done, it'll all be worth it. We can take that trip to Italy." Her replies had grown shorter over the months, her voice carrying a brittle hudge I'd been too exhausted to decipher. My office door creaked open. It was Davison's assistant. "He's ready for you, Alex," and he asked for Mark to join as well. Mark? My brow furrowed. Mark Jennings, the new guy. He'd been here all of 2 weeks, fresh-faced and armed with a charming smile and a resume that seemed a little too perfect. He was in the marketing department, a different division entirely. Why would he be in this meeting? Maybe Davison wanted to introduce the new SVP to other key players immediately. My optimism, a stubborn weed, pushed through the cracks of my confusion. I walked into Davison's expansive office. The view of the city skyline, usually a source of inspiration, seemed to mock me. Davison was at his desk, beaming, and there, sitting in the chair that should have been empty, was Mark. He stood up, extending a hand with that same easygoing smile. "Alex, congrats on the Odyssey project. Heard you were a miracle worker." I shook his hand, a knot of unease tightening in my gut. "Thanks, Mark. We all pulled together." "Please, have a seat, Alex," Davison said, gesturing to the other chair. He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "As you know, the company is moving into a new era, thanks in no small part to your Herculean efforts on Odyssey. We need fresh leadership, a new perspective to guide us forward. That's why, after much deliberation, I'm thrilled to announce our new Senior Vice President of Operations, Mark Jennings." The words didn't register at first. They were just sounds, disconnected from meaning, like a foreign language. I looked at Davison's smiling face, then at Mark, who was now sporting a look of faux humility, a slight, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. The air was sucked from the room, the city skyline blurred. My heart, which had been hammering with anticipation, now felt like a cold, dead stone in my chest. "Mark?" I managed to choke out, my voice raspy. "He's been here 2 weeks." Davison's smile faltered, replaced by a mask of corporate stoicism. "Mark brings an incredible wealth of outside experience from his time at Zenith Innovations. He has a dynamic vision that we feel aligns perfectly with our forward trajectory. He's a disruptor, Alex. Sometimes that's what a company needs." Disruptor. The word dripped with condescending HR jargon. It was a slap in the face, wrapped in a business school platitude. I looked at Mark, this kid who couldn't have been older than 30, who hadn't sacrificed a single evening for this company, who was now being handed the culmination of my life's work. "With all due respect, sir," I began, my voice trembling with a rage I was desperately trying to control. "I have given 10 years of my life to this company. I saved the Odyssey project. You told me." "I told you that you were a strong candidate, and you were," Davison cut in, his tone firm, dismissive. "But business is not about sentiment, Alex. It's about results and future potential. We'll be creating a new senior manager position to report to Mark, and it's yours, of course, a significant pay bump." Report to him. The humiliation was a physical blow. To work under this child, to hand over my strategies, my contacts, my decade of institutional knowledge. I stood up, my chair scraping harshly against the polished floor. I need a moment. I walked out of the office, not hearing whatever platitudes they called after me. I stumbled to the men's room and splashed cold water on my face, staring at the stranger in the mirror.
His eyes were hollow, defeated. The man who had built an empire was now a jester in his own court. Driving home was an out-of-body experience. The familiar streets felt alien. I was a ghost haunting my own life. I walked into my house, the one my long hours had paid for, and called out for Sarah. She was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "Hey, you're home early," she said, her voice lacking its usual warmth. "They gave it to someone else, Sarah," I said, my voice breaking. "The promotion. They gave it to a kid who's been there for 2 weeks." I expected sympathy, an embrace, a shared sense of outrage. Instead, she barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, well, I'm sure they had their reasons, Alex. Maybe this new guy is really good. You can't take these things so personally." Her indifference was more painful than Davison's betrayal. Personally? Sarah, this was our future. The Italy trip, paying off the mortgage. I did this for us. "Did you?"
She shot back, finally putting her phone down, her eyes flashing with something I hadn't seen before. "Or did you do it for you? For your ego? I've had dinner alone for the better part of 2 years, Alex. Don't talk to me about us." Her words stung, but the coldness behind them was what truly terrified me. This wasn't the woman I had married. The distance I had vaguely sensed was now a gaping chasm between us. I slept in the guest room that night, the silence of the house screaming louder than any argument could. The next week was a blur of misery. I avoided Mark at all costs, my stomach churning every time I saw his smug face in the hallway. I was a pariah, a relic. The pitying glances from my colleagues were almost as bad as the promotion itself. But something kept nagging at me. It didn't make sense. Mark's resume was good, but not that good. How had he leapfrogged a decade of loyalty and proven success? Then, on Friday, I saw it. Mark was leaning against a counter in the break room, laughing with a few colleagues. As he gestured with his hand, the light caught the watch on his wrist. It was a silver chronograph, elegant and distinctive. It was a Breitling Navitimer, the exact model I had bought for Sarah for our 5th anniversary, complete with a custom engraving on the back, "My Forever, A and S." My blood ran cold. It couldn't be. It was just a similar watch, a coincidence. I rushed back to my desk, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I had to know. That night, I went home with a singular purpose. Sarah was out with friends. I went straight to her bedroom, to her jewelry box. I rummaged through her collection of necklaces and bracelets, my hands shaking. The watch box was there, nestled in the back. I opened it. It was empty. Panic gave way to a sickening certainty. I needed more. I needed proof. Our home iPad was synced to her iMessage account. I had never invaded her privacy before, but this was different. This was a violation that demanded investigation. I opened the messaging app, my finger trembling as I scrolled down. And there it was, a thread with a contact simply named M. I opened it, and my world imploded. It was all there. Hundreds of messages, flirtatious texts, explicit photos, declarations of love. They had been seeing each other for 6 months. I scrolled back, looking for dates. The affair had started just as the Odyssey project entered its most demanding phase. As I was sleeping on a cot in my office, she was sleeping in another man's bed. But the worst was yet to come. I found the messages from 3 weeks ago. Mark, or M, was complaining about his job in Zenith. "I'm stuck here, babe. I can't get the kind of salary we need if we're going to do this." Sarah's reply made me physically sick. "Don't worry, Alex's company is hiring. He's so senior, he's practically running the place. I'll talk to his boss. I'm good friends with his wife. I'll tell him I know a brilliant marketing guy who's looking for a change." I'll make it happen. It wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy. She hadn't just cheated on me. She had actively sabotaged my career to build a future with her lover. She had used my name, my reputation, my years of hard work as leverage to get him in the door. And the promotion? It was the grand prize. With that salary, he could give her the life she wanted, a life funded by my own professional destruction. I no longer felt sadness. The grief had been burned away, replaced by an ice-cold, crystalline rage. I took screenshots of everything. I spent the entire weekend meticulously crafting my resignation letter. It was not a letter of defeat. It was a declaration of war. On Monday morning, I walked into Sterling Court for the last time. I didn't go to my desk. I went straight to HR and then to Davison's office. I requested a meeting with him and Mark. Just to ensure a smooth transition, I said, my voice eerily calm. They sat across from me at the large mahogany table, the same place my dreams had been executed just days before. Davison looked impatient. Mark looked smug. "All right, Alex, let's make this quick," Davison said. I slid 2 envelopes across the table. "This one is for you, Mr. Davison," I said, nodding to the first. "It's my resignation, effective immediately." Davison looked surprised, but also relieved. The problem was solving itself. "I'm sorry to see you go, Alex, but I understand." "I don't think you do," I said, my voice low and steady. I pushed the second, thicker envelope towards Mark. "And this one is for you, Mark. Or perhaps I should say, it's for both of you." Mark opened it. His confident smirk vanished, replaced by a ghastly white pallor as he saw the printed copies of his and Sarah's text messages. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with panic. Davison, sensing the shift, leaned over and snatched a page from Mark's trembling hand. I stood up. For 10 years, I gave this company my all. I built things, I solved problems, I created value. And in return, I was betrayed. Not just by my boss, but by my wife, who conspired with her lover to steal the career I had built, piece by painful piece. You didn't hire a disruptor, Mr. Davison. You hired an adulterer who slept his way into a position he didn't earn with the help of my wife. I looked at Mark, whose entire world was collapsing in on him. "Enjoy the watch," I said, the words dripping with venom. It was a 5th anniversary gift. I turned and walked out of the office, leaving the wreckage behind me. I didn't look back. The sounds of shouting began before the door had even clicked shut. I walked through the office, past the cubicles and the people I'd spent a decade with, and I didn't stop. I walked out into the bright sunlight, a free man. When I got home, Sarah's car was gone, and a hastily packed suitcase was missing from our closet. There was no note. There didn't need to be. In that moment, I hadn't just resigned from a job.
I had resigned from a life that was built on a foundation of lies. I had lost everything I thought I had worked for. But as I stood on the pavement, the city noise buzzing around me, I didn't feel broken. I felt a profound, terrifying, and exhilarating sense of peace. I had lost my past, but for the first time in a very long time, I was in complete control of my future.